Kids, are you here for the quiz? Because I'd be very happy to share the prize. What is the prize?
A night at the Chariot Square Hotel.
Ooh, perfect. You'll have a lovely time.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the new lunchtime quiz. Let's get quizzical. It's fun, on the song. Right. Anyway, pens at the ready. Question 1.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
Welcome to episode 342 of the Talk of the Street, an unofficial Coronation Street catch-up podcast that is now, and has always been, a faithful. I'm Gavin.
And I'm just praying they let our kid back in the country after his game in Toronto tomorrow.
What?
You didn't know about this? Betty's going to Canada tomorrow.
Without a passport?
Well, he's got his enhanced driver's license.
Oh.
And his birth certificate. So that should be enough. I'm just hoping they let him back in.
Oh, I'm hoping they let me back in as well.
Yes, well, you're not going to Canada. You're going to Scotland.
I am heading back to Caledonia.
You are.
After 10 years on somewhat...
On a sad note.
Yeah, somewhat unfortunate circumstances for a funeral.
Yes, your Uncle Sammy has passed.
Yes. So just consider yourselves forewarned.
Yes.
If you're hitting refresh on your podcast provider of choice.
Yes.
In a couple of weeks wondering, where the fuck is the talk of the street?
Right.
There ain't going to be one.
Yeah. Listen, guys. When I had to go to Florida, we recorded a podcast where I had to sit in a bathtub.
Personal highlight of the podcast for me, I think.
But there's no way we're coordinating this across an ocean.
Well, we could try.
Would you sit in a bathtub?
The main problem is that when we normally record this, I will have been up and about for close to 48 hours. So,
right, which is why we're not doing a podcast. Yeah. Theoretically, it's
possible.
Yes. So if you're walking around Scotland in 2 weeks and you see someone who looks like Gav, it may just be Gav.
Or sounds like Gav, because maybe you don't know what I look like.
Yeah, but everybody sounds like
Long,
you.
dark locks.
They've seen
a big old bushy beard.
Your picture is the header for like all of our social media. They know what you look like.
No, not everyone is interested in that sort of thing. I'm all man.
Well, that's true.
Anyway, how are you this week?
Yeah, all right. Kind of, I mean, not really all right.
No, it's been a shit week.
It's been a shit week here in Lake Wobegon.
I fell over again.
Yes.
I have uncontrollable falling down, and I realised it's because the tread of my shoes...
It's like nothing.
Yeah, it's non-existent.
This is the problem when you only have, 2 pairs of shoes?
I'm wearing Dan's shoes, basically, and it's like minus 20 outside.
Meanwhile, I have 12 pairs of boots.
So I've been continually falling over.
Yes.
Busting up my arm and my back.
Yeah.
Then Uncle Sammy dies.
Yeah. And then other things happened.
Oh, well.
Yeah. Oh, well.
But here we are, still doing a podcast.
Still doing a podcast.
This is what we call perspective.
Yes.
Or something.
Yes. We know our responsibility to keep up the spirits of the people of the world. We're here for you.
We are here for you.
We are here for you.
I hope you feel it.
Yeah. It's good that we aren't doing the podcast that week, though, because depending upon how things go earlier on in the week, I may not be feeling up to doing a podcast.
Oh, sure.
I'm having a liver biopsy on that Tuesday.
I don't know if are those... They don't sound pleasant.
I've had one before, and they put you to sleep now. Before they just did general anesthetic in the area.
Local anesthetic.
Yeah. Right, yeah, local anesthetic. They will be giving me general anesthetic, which is why you have to go to drive me home.
Yeah.
But, it's better to get it done if they think you need it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about you, but I'm thoroughly depressed, so...
Let's talk about Coronation Street,
shall we do a
shall we?
corrie podcast? And before we do that, and before I say those magic words, I just want to give a shout out to Coronation Street podcast, a new corrie podcast.
What?
A new corrie podcast starring our very own Aussie Ali.
Oi, oi, oi!
Indeed. Ali McComb and Rosa Murphy, who take a look at events on corrie in general, but with a particular focus on the Swarla. It's fun and it's sweary and it's well worth a listen. It's on Spotify and Acast. For now, I imagine the other big hitters in the podcast game in due course.
What are they going to do when they break up? Or Carla dies of kidney disease?
We're not here to ask those tough questions. This is hopefully something that Aussie Ali and Rosa have taken into account whilst talking about their model for podcasting.
Excellent.
Now that's out the way.
Welcome to the biz.
Yes.
So that's a Coronation Street podcast on 3 different continents.
Yes.
Well done, Coronation Street. You may be, shitting money, but you're well represented.
I think this is
on 3 continents.
Officially, corrie podcasting is now global. Anyway, shall we preamble, my dear?
Yes, please.
Give us some of that. Global? Yeah, sure, I can't be bothered. Corrie News.
Simon Gregson has written a children's book called The Dream Dragon, based upon stories he'd tell his sons when they were little and had nightmares, which is adorable.
Wait, he'd tell his sons these stories and then they would have nightmares?
No, when they had nightmares, he would come in and he would tell them stories about the dream dragon who would come and eat their nightmares.
Oh, I see.
Yes. Isn't that cute?
That's quite cute.
Yeah.
A dream dragon?
A dream dragon. He likes alliteration.
So it would seem.
Did you know that his real name is Simon Gregory?
I don't think I did.
It's a really imaginative stage name you got there.
I imagine there was
Fat
already
Dracula.
Simon Gregory on the books of Equity, I think.
Yes, it is Equity. Mm-hmm. Well done.
Yeah.
That must be it. Because why would you choose just
That's
to change 3 letters of your name?
That's why Jack P. Shepherd is
it's
Jack
P. Shepherd, yes. Yeah.
But he didn't change his name to Jack Shep or
No.
Jack Shepson.
Or Jackson Shepherd.
Maybe he should have.
Maybe. I kind of like that P, though.
It's a good P.
It's
refreshing.
not the way I was going, but fine. Kidney Care UK has offered criticism with the Carla kidney storyline.
Oh, talk about alliteration.
Namely how, some of those were C's. Namely how quickly she was able to get a dialysis machine at home and leave the hospital, which is something we criticize the show on an awful lot as well. They had said back in 2018 that the transplant timeline for that particular Carla kidney storyline was unrealistic.
Corrie has form.
But the show did not take their advice. The show consulted with this charity about kidney disease. The kidney people gave them criticism.
The kidney people.
The kidney people. And said, look, we understand that, timelines, how timelines go and everything, but you're giving people false hope and frustration when in reality it can take up to 3 years to get a kidney. And it takes months to get a dialysis machine at home sometimes, especially right now when it seems like there's an awful lot of kidney disease going around. The list for kidney transplants is like 10 times higher than it was just a few years ago. So, yeah, well done for the Kidney Care UK people for speaking about this and not, just sitting quietly like the brain trauma people and the recovery from stabbing people. And, I understand their point of view because people watch these things and then have unrealistic expectations.
Well, Carla on Coronation Street got her machine the next day. Maybe not in that voice, but...
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's already a very frustrating thing. This sort of
Any
thing.
waiting list is frustrating.
Right. Yes.
You just want treatment and you want relief.
Dialysis is free in this country thanks to Richard Nixon. And that's your history lesson of the day. And finally, Tony Maudsley has revealed on Instagram that Amy Robbins, a.k.a. Daisy's mom, Christina, is back filming on the cobbles.
She's back, bitches.
She is back, bitches. Apparently, they are like really close friends. So he was like, I'm so excited that my friend is back and filming, and posted a lovely picture of himself with Amy and everything, which is really lovely. It's really lovely when they do these sorts of things, when they are friends with one another.
Are you a fan of Christina?
I kind of am.
I don't think I like her.
She reminds me a little bit of Kathleen Turner.
Oh, yeah. I can see that.
Yeah. AKA Chandler's dad. But I think that's where people mostly know her from, which is sad because she is...
Romancing the Stone, surely.
Right. Well, that's
wait a
how
minute.
we know.
What? Everyone isn't 51 years old?
That's true.
Wow.
Everyone isn't 51 years old. And just to set the record straight, that was a terrible, terrible representation of the trans community back in the 90s, as opposed to Coronation Street and Roy and Haley. She was on, not Loose Women, the other one.
Kathleen Turner?
No, Julie.
Hesman Hall.
Yes. Thank you. Talking about her new play. And that's Corrie News.
That's Corrie News with a little bit
I
of it.
love Kathleen Turner, by the way. I just want to make sure that everybody knows that I love Kathleen Turner. And I know her from many more things than just Chandler's dad.
Can everyone please email us, thetalkofthestreet@gmail.com, just to let us know that you now understand that?
Yes.
Thanks. Well, that is Corrie News with a little bit of extra Corrie News just thrown in, and some US history facts. Thank you, Helen.
You are welcome.
We will now move on to the feedback section that I like to call Everyone's a Critic. Tara J writes in, on Fridays on the sofa, Ben and Jack mentioned seeing Lucy Fallon's baby pictures and keeping in touch with Helen Worth on Plat Chat. That's right, there's a real Plat Chat.
There's a real Plat Chat. I love that.
Also, one of your new Twitter polls sounds like a low belch to me. The first couple of times I heard it, I thought Gav had just been hitting the iron brew too hard. Oh, thank you. Thank you for that, Tara. That'll be the...
Yay!
I think that's the middle one that she's talking about.
It still sounds like a dog to me.
Then Daisy writes in with a message entitled, "That's Deirdre in the opening music? I thought it was Sean." What?
What?
Presumably the
Yeah, not the Gary part.
No.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever heard that as being Sean. But
No.
then I've always known it was Deirdre.
Right.
Hi campers, great poddy as always. Daniel is a see you next Tuesday. I think she means cunt. Yes. But also, bye bye Bethany. Daisy is not someone I want to have the same name as, and that's all I have to say. Thank you very much, Daisy. Caroline and Amy write in, hiya Percy and Phyllis. We were wondering if you noticed, but in the Christmas Day episode when Gail is dancing with Richard, that the cushions on the lounge had faces. One of them is definitely Brian Tilsley. And perhaps Ivy. I checked, it is Ivy. I need to go back and watch it on the big TV again, but if you have time and an inkling to rewatch the scene and pause it, you may have more luck identifying the faces I did. I did have a look at it in the Christmas Day episode. I could only identify the same two, Brian and Ivy, but if any other eagle-eyed listeners want to check it out, a nice little touch that I think has kind of flown under the radar there. That's a really good spot. On an unrelated note, we both use Dailymotion to watch our Corrie episode fix, and one of the channels in there has an AI video that plays for 20-ish seconds before the ad break. We've called this character Dobby, as that's how much your work means to us. Keep up the good work, Caroline and Amy. Thank you very much indeed.
I was concerned there for a minute that they've mistaken me for J.K. Rowling.
Unlikely. Then Michelle writes, my math professor asked us, what if your car broke down halfway to town? Would you turn the car around to push it home or continue on to push it to town? Easier to push on. That was his lesson for rounding up from half or more. And my response to that is, your professor doesn't know about hills.
No. And also just leave the fucking car there and go get some gas or call a tow truck. Why would you push your car all that way?
Just to prove a mathematical bias point, I guess.
I guess so.
See these professors. It's about high time we stop listening to experts. And then Cheeky writes, this week I absolutely hated Leanne. Her snide remarks and her attempts to destroy Nick's relationship with Toyah were stupid.
Yep.
I loved Lauren's final speech to Joel's dad and didn't believe his wife's tears when she came in on Friday, but that's another issue. I also thought it was kind of funny that Cassie escaped suspicion yet again. My main highlight of the week was Daniel yet again screwing up with both Bethany and Daisy. Will he ever learn? An exasperated Cheeky at the end there, I think.
Yes.
Thank you very much. And thank you to Cheeky, to Michelle, to Carla and Amy, to Daisy and to Tara J for writing in this week. We very much appreciate it. Feedback is always welcome. Send us your thoughts and I'll probably read them out. Get us at thetalkofthestreet@gmail.com or our DMs are open at Corrie Podcast. And we love it when people write actual letters to us. Send us your proper mail to the Talk of the Street, P.O. Box 12, Eaton Rapids, Michigan 48827. I did not check this week because I've had a shit week.
Yes, and it's been very cold.
Please note that we reserve the right to edit feedback, but only in the interest of brevity. And now, we'll podcast for coffee. Thank you, Wendy, for our coffees this week.
Oh, thank you, Wendy.
Wendy doesn't write a message.
No.
Wendy doesn't need to write a message.
She doesn't.
It's all Wendy.
We all know. We know, Wendy. We know.
I did see something on the Reddit this week that was very much like Wendy's list of the things that the show has forgotten. So I'm hoping Wendy is aware and is stamping her authority all over that shit.
Oh! I nearly forgot. One more bit of correspondence. Totally forgot. That it's Corrie related, but it was posted to me personally on the Blue Sky. Oh. Yes. Stephen wrote, recently I dreamed that Coronation Street actually started plagiarizing the Scottish Book of the Dead.
That's a book I wrote.
It is. I forget if you mentioned it in the last episode of the podcast or the one before. The stork ornament popped up at the Platt House, at the Rovers, and probably other places. So Stephen's subconscious is just like me, silently accusing the writers of Coronation Street from cobbling from your book, The Scottish Book of the Dead.
The funny thing that happened this week was me at work explaining how terrified I am of going back to Scotland.
Uh-huh.
And having two co-workers say, that's like your book.
Yeah.
And me going, oh, so is.
Yeah.
Because 1/4 of that book is exactly about that.
Yeah. And then you said it in the car on the way home from work. And I said, oh, yeah. Yeah, it is. How did we miss that?
So I failed to plagiarise myself.
Right.
But as long as Corrie's there to do it,
yes.
That's fine. The Talk of the Street is and will always be free on your podcast provider and on the YouTubes. But if you think our show is worth anything more than the time it takes to listen to it, and if you want to show your appreciation, you can buy us next week's coffee by going to ko-fi.com. That's ko-fi.com/the Talk of the Street. You can also sign up to be a friend of the podcast through the same link where for as little as $2 a month you can get a mention in the closing credits of each and every episode. And we now have a Patreon site where you can also show some love. Sign up to be a friend of the podcast there at patreon.com/the Talk of the Street. But remember, you can always support the podcast for free and get us in front of new listeners by liking, subscribing, rating and reviewing wherever you get your podcasts. Whew. All right, shall we dive in, my dear?
Yes, please.
A good week this week, I'm going to say, right off.
A curious week.
The show seems to be struggling on Mondays over the last couple of weeks, but the rest, yeah, I think it was a pretty good week. Let's either prove or disprove that hypothesis.
Yes, please.
As we dive into this week's episodes, and we will start with The Crown versus Racist Kelly. On Monday, Racist Kelly's fretting over Frankie, worried that he's not well, so one of the baby unit guards promises to take him to get checked over. Meanwhile, the show's remembering that Dee Dee's still pregnant because she suddenly developed a bump and none of her clothes fit her anymore. At court, Roy is given a character witness statement and the razor-sharp prosecution barrister is making a big deal that Roy spent time in jail for the murder of racist Kelly and had a hellish time of it, all thanks to her inactions to come forward.
And not once did Roy say, well, she was terrified for her life, so it's fine. It's fine that she didn't, because she'd just gotten brutally beat up by that man and was terrified for her life. I totally understand why she did that. He never says that. He just, like,
Well, maybe because it wasn't fine, Helen.
Well, it was fine.
At the time, it wasn't fine. He was having a dreadful time of it.
She'd already apologized to him, and he was there to give character witness. Not once did he say that. And it's like, Roy, come on now. Don't let this man run ribbons around you.
I quite liked the razor-sharp prosecution barrister.
I thought he was a dick. I haven't seen a worse prosecution person on film since we watched Anatomy of a Fall. Remember that prosecution guy? That French guy?
I am refusing to be derailed by your segue, Helen. This prosecution barrister was razor sharp, as we were promised.
Terrible.
As we were promised.
He was terrible.
And this proves racist Kelly and her desire to conceal the truth. And Roy has to agree with this. He's right.
He's not right, though.
Then why did they agree?
Because for some reason, Roy Cropper, who is typically razor sharp, is...
No, not as razor sharp as the razor sharp prosecution.
Stuttering and saying, well, I suppose theoretically you're right, without saying, but of course she was in fear for her life because this man had given her blunt head trauma.
The proceedings become farcical, though, when the prosecution is done with Roy, and the judge not only allows him to make a speech about how upstanding racist Kelly is and incapable of violence, not only allows the two barristers to argue the toss, but she also allows Bree from last week to stand up in the gallery and claim that racist Kelly attacked her last night, and she has witnesses. All it needs during any of this, and in fact what it demands, is that the judge gets a wee hammer out that I know that they don't have in the UK, batters the fuck out of her
Why
desk.
Why don't they have them in the UK?
And
order,
shouts,
order!
I will not let this trial be turned into a circus.
And then an elephant to walk in. Yeah, and this will continue.
Yes,
this will continue.
Throughout.
That people are just allowed to speak out of turn without any sort of question.
Yep.
Just speak and keep speaking.
Now, I realise, razor-sharp prosecution barrister, that you've asked me a question. However, I am going to go off on a complete tangent and say what I want to say.
Yeah.
Yes, this is all allowable.
And he will allow it, which is the...
She.
No, the prosecutor is a
And
dude.
the judge.
Yeah. And yet when Lauren's lawyer is like, hey, this line of questioning has nothing to do with this case, the judge is like, shut up, you.
Sit down.
Shut up. I'll allow it. Even though you're right.
Bree is finally ushered out of the court, and the judge remembers her job finally and tells the jury to disregard that outburst. Joel's dad is particularly interested in this and sees Bree, whose arm doesn't look that injured after all. Then Dee Dee arrives at the court, sees this, and although she's there to give evidence, she goes off to investigate it, while the defence barrister receives notice from a call from the prison that Frankie is now in hospital with a high temperature. Racist Kelly wants to go to the hospital, but the barrister points out that it doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
Because you're in prison, hen.
Right, yes, and you're on trial. We're in court right now. Do you see this court? This is where we're at.
This is where you are.
This is where you are.
This is a thing.
It is a thing.
This is this.
Yes.
This.
This.
It's this.
This is this. This is that thing we've been preparing for all this time.
Max is up next, sticking to the story that racist Kelly hit Joel once, but the razor-sharp prosecution barrister quickly establishes that Max couldn't have seen racist Kelly do any such thing, given that Joel was strangling him from behind. Aye.
Right, yes, but Max quickly says, yeah, but I could hear it.
Which...
Fair enough.
Which, seeing things doesn't work like that, though.
Right, yes, but he could hear one thwack, and that's final.
But
One.
he didn't. He heard two, because there was two. Max acts like he had never considered this and thinks that it doesn't really matter how many times it should happen. The prosecution also establishes that racist Kelly was part of the right-wing terrorist group from a couple of years ago, and Max loses his temper at this and shouts at the razor-sharp prosecution barrister, so that goes down pretty well. Racist Kelly's
Fuck off, you.
Racist Kelly's in the witness box next and isn't in a chatty mood. He's a sharp prosecution barrister, brings up Lizzie's tramp tracker that was on her phone and puts it to her that she deliberately tracked Joel down, murdered him in cold blood, and then let Max take the blame when their attempts to cover it as suicide didn't work. This doesn't look good. She wanted to kill
They
Joel.
didn't really cover it up as suicide themselves, though.
Yeah, they did. They picked his body up and they threw him in the river.
That's not really. That's getting rid of a body. That's not saying, oh, we're going
No.
to pretend this is suicide.
No, that's taking advantage of the fact that Joel was planning to fake his own suicide and then make it look like that's exactly what he did. That's totally what that is.
It's getting rid of a body.
It's by making it look like he jumped off a bridge.
Yes.
So committed suicide then.
Yes. No. Maybe.
The barrister says that she wanted to kill Joel, so she did. Racist Killer says girls like her don't get justice, and that doesn't help matters. The judge lets Racist Kelly go off on a lengthy monologue about her upbringing and abuse. The prosecution isn't moved and thinks what Joel did to her and to Frankie gives her plenty of cause to kill Joel, and Racist Kelly finally admits that she's glad he's dead. Glad, I tells you. Next up is Dee Dee, who gives a measured account of Racist Kelly's history with Joel and accuses Joel's dad of bribing Bree. Despite telling the jury to ignore Bree's outburst from earlier, the judge allows Dee Dee to make unsubstantiated accusations against Bree and Joel's dad and offer a version of events on the night of Joel's death that she wasn't privy to. Well done.
Yeah. And it's like, we don't get to see Dee Dee follow Bree back to a house that Gus owns and all of this stuff that she supposedly went to investigate rather quickly.
Yes. If only the police investigated things as quickly as that.
Yeah, they should hire Dee Dee.
But none of this should have mattered because the jury were already told to
throw that
ignore
out.
Bree. So whether she was being truthful or not is really by the by because they were to ignore it.
Right, yeah. And also proving that Joel's dad is an asshole doesn't necessarily help Lauren's case.
No, Joel's dad, I would say, is not the one on trial here.
Yeah, not yet. Not yet. I didn't realize his name was Angus and not Gus. So both of them have A names. Because isn't the mum's name like...
Anthea, I think, isn't it?
Anthea, yeah. Anthea and Angus. What century do those people come from?
What makes you think that these are old names?
Because they are old names.
It's not Ethelred.
It may as well be.
Gus is a popular name.
Gus, yes. Angus?
Well, what do you think Gus is short for?
Nothing. It's just
It's
Gus.
Angus. It's right there. Hiding in plain sight.
There are plenty of people named Gus who weren't Angus. Like Gus the mouse in Cinderella. You think that mouse's name was Angus?
It was Gustav. It wasn't Gus.
No, it was Gus. Gus. That's what they would call him.
You're
Gus.
fucking drunk.
Yes. No.
After the court, Racist Kelly and Max are at the hospital and Racist Kelly is sure she's going to prison. Max promises that he has her and Frankie's back. He tells her that she did everything that she could, but Racist Kelly doesn't want to think about it. All that matters is Frankie. And I wondered if they'd forgotten that they'd split up at this point. And I also don't think that they were in the hospital. They were back at the prison. Because, according to Tom, Monday had no hospital and no cop shop.
Well, maybe maybe Tom mistook.
No,
that.
I think I made the mistake there.
No, because they said that Gus. They said that Frankie was in the hospital.
Yeah, but then he went back to the prison.
No, because he was still in the hospital on Wednesday.
Oh well, then Tom needs to sort his fucking stats out then.
I think the nursery at the prison and the nursery at the hospital look an awful lot alike.
They do. They're interchangeable.
Yeah, but that baby had an IV, so.
On Wednesday, the prosecution and the defence make their closing remarks. The razor-sharp prosecution barrister talks about the premeditation of Racist Kelly following Joel to the bridge and twatting him twice, then making it look like suicide. The defence make out that Racist Kelly was terrified of Joel and was worried that Joel made her and Frankie's life in perpetual danger. And the first time of asking, the jury hasn't come to a unanimous verdict, but later they eventually come with a 10-2 majority decision. Not guilty. And it's so undersold
Yeah.
that it almost feels like it didn't really happen.
Well, is it undersold because, there was all that drama because at first they couldn't come to a verdict. And that was really traumatic.
Well, of course they weren't going to come to a verdict. It was still the middle of the first half. We
Yeah.
need to be at least halfway through before we get a verdict.
But still, it was, it was like, oh, God, what are they going to do? They can't make a decision. What's going to happen?
Is this a good thing or it's a bad thing? How would you want it to go?
Honestly, I don't know.
I think I wanted her to be found guilty. But I don't think she should have been charged with murder.
No.
I think she should have been charged with manslaughter.
Yeah. And that she would have been found guilty on. I think it was just the bloodthirstiness of the prosecution that kind of shot them in the foot. Wanting her to go down for murder.
Because she did kill him. And she did, I think, mean to kill him.
Right. Well, self-defense.
But I don't think she
didn't want Max
I
to
don't
die.
think she went to the bridge with the intention of killing him.
No.
I don't know what intention they did have though.
No. It's like, why? Yeah. Plot.
They had the intention of
Plot.
of stretching out the plot, yes.
Yes. I'm still mad that Joel is dead, so.
Is there part of you that still thinks that he's not? There's part of me that still thinks that he's not because of that whole body bag confusion from months
Right,
ago.
yeah. I'm still confused about that body bag.
That the razor sharp prosecution barrister is going to rip off his face and reveal that it was
It's
Joel all along. And he would have got away with it too.
I think it was very smart for them to have Dee Dee testify. I think Dee Dee makes the most sympathetic testimonial because she was Joel's fiance and she's not mad that he's dead. And, and she's 100% behind racist Kelly. I also, I get what they were trying to do with your quote, end quote, razor sharp prosecutor. But the fact that he kind of just laughed when she was like, I'm worried about my baby in hospital, it kind of pushed it over a little too hard, don't you think? Would a prosecutor laugh because a baby's in a hospital?
See, I think they did do a decent job of making him seem like a razor sharp prosecution barrister.
I thought he was evil.
It was quite on the ball to start with, but there was that where he, and remember, he's not the one that's on trial either, but there was definite evidence of him maybe making her inadvertently look sympathetic. But there was also the nonsense with Dee Dee's testimony where he just let her go off on a complete riff, not answering any of the questions that he had asked,
right,
and just let her speak uninterrupted for 2 or 3 minutes.
Yeah,
So it's
there was an awful lot of speaking uninterrupted there.
Just say objection for the love of Christ.
Right. But he did once, and the judge is like, no, I'll allow it. Dee Dee's a friend.
Yes, that was it. No, she's a friend, and she's under oath, and I don't want to appear racist.
And the way he was badgering the witnesses, he was badgering Roy and Lauren. He did not badger Dee Dee. He was smart. Do not badger Dee Dee. But, Max was right for calling it out. The badgering of the witness. You're not supposed to badger the witness. Let them answer. Don't keep asking questions before they're able to answer your first one.
Well, he was asking closed questions that require a yes or a no answer. And I don't want to hear however you're intending on qualifying this. I just want to know yes or no to this question. Damn it. There's nothing wrong with that. Racist Kelly, says the judge, you're free to go.
Woohoo!
Max goes to see her in hospital, and as they celebrate getting away with it, the moment is ruined when Joel's dad comes in to promise never to let them raise his grandchild.
Right, and picks him up. They say, don't pick him up. And he picks him up anyway. This child has a compromised immune system, and you just walk right in without washing your hands and pick this child up? Fuck you.
Fuck you, Gus.
Fuck you, Gus. Angus. You old cow.
Honestly, what is up with you in this name? Racist Kelly tells him that she's sick of assholes like him, like her dad, who taught her to hate people. Well, guess what? She's changed, she says. And everyone goes, really? And she's standing up for herself now. And if he wants his hands on Frankie, he'll need to kill her. Joel's dad knows when he's beat and slinks off. On Friday at the hospital, it's more good news for Racist Kelly. Frankie is responding well to antibiotics and can get home soon. And there's been no more sightings of a deering. But then, round the corner, it's the other one.
It's Anthea.
She apologises for her husband and their behaviour and said, you'd do anything for your kids, and that's all that they were doing. They've dropped the custody case and her husband is now being investigated.
Good.
Max and Racist Kelly are unmoved as she says goodbye to Frankie and then disappears in a puff of black smoke. Racist Kelly will be moving back into the foster home once Frankie is discharged, and Max makes another go at suggesting that they could be a family together and give Frankie some stability. She appreciates everything that he's done for her, but reminds him that they're not a couple. He tells her that he loves her. She says that she loves him. So that seems to be that back on again.
Right, yeah. And see, they wouldn't have taken him to the hospital and then let him out of the hospital back to the prison and then back into the hospital for the rest of the week.
Yeah, I think that makes out that I was right on Monday.
Yes.
Tom,
and Tom
you need
was
to
wrong.
update your stats, man.
Shame on you, Tom.
This is important. Important work.
We expect you to keep up on this.
This is important work. But there's a way that we can check for sure that once the episode's published to Corriepedia, they list all the locations in the episode. So that'll tell us.
There you go.
Yeah, so that's as far as we get with that this week. I did not enjoy the trial one little bit.
But you love this razor sharp prosecutor.
I thought he was trying his best under trying circumstances.
He was a dick. He is.
The defence barrister looked like Victoria Wood, I thought.
Yeah, I can see that.
I mean, I don't want it to be...
You don't want it to be easy.
No, and I don't need every police procedural or every medical procedural or every jurisdiction and legal proceeding to run exactly by the book. But it just seemed to go so far away from, hey, maybe this is how trials work. That
we know it's not. That
punters can just turn up off the street,
start shouting,
wander onto the witness stand, and just say whatever's on their mind. Maybe that's perfectly reasonable.
Yeah.
It just didn't ring true for me, and it kind of spoiled it. And I was up. This is a murder trial, for goodness sake, and it's done in a day and a half.
Yeah.
Really? I was in a jury for a common assault, and that shit lasted for 4 days.
Yeah.
4 full days,
and nobody even died.
No.
At least we got to see this trial.
Well, the other one that we get is easier because she's pled guilty, so it's not really a trial.
No, but no, that's not even what I was talking about.
Oh, well, in that case, I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm talking about trials in the past that we haven't gotten to see.
Oh, okay.
But also the Leanne one, although I really didn't care about the Leanne one, so
no, who cares? Right.
Do not give a fuck.
So,
although,
Racist Kelly says...
About that part of the story.
So, Racist Kelly says that she was this person that her dad made her, taught to hate everyone that was different from her. Mm-hmm. She's no longer that person. Yeah. She has changed.
She needs to tell Alia that. Although Alia seems to have forgiven her. If Alia's, sympathy towards her in Nina's roles when they're all talking about how the trial went. They're all gossiping.
I think independently, Alia has made her peace with it.
Yes.
With nothing input or otherwise from Racist Kelly.
Yeah. Max apologized. Racist Kelly did not.
Or maybe we missed it. I don't think we did, though.
No.
She's just so hard to sympathise with because she's so sharp and she's perpetually
shitty person.
And looking furious. And she talks down to people an awful lot. She blames her background for an awful lot.
Yeah.
And I guess her upbringing.
Yeah, her background is responsible for an awful lot of it. Yeah.
But she chooses to be the person that she is to some degree.
Right. Yeah.
So when she's kind of not really nasty, but dismissive to nurses and demanding of people. It's,
Right.
It feels like she doesn't quite
It's like
get
she's
how
she sounds.
yeah, and how that affects other people.
Right.
And so that makes her quite unsympathetic.
Right. Whereas Mason seemed to understand how his abruptness was.
Arguably, they went too far in another direction so that when he gets killed, we're devastated.
Yeah.
When he was a dreadful, dreadful human being for the longest time.
Yeah.
But the proof of that was his 2 episodes where his only line was, "I'm sorry," to everyone that he bumped into.
Yeah.
And seemingly meant it.
Yeah.
But we haven't really had that. And I know that we've talked
'Cause
about this before.
He was bleeding out.
But it remains true that, well, even before he was stabbed, he was still
Right.
apologising to lots of people.
That's
and,
true.
and saying how much he appreciated the help that he was getting from
Yes.
Stu and Yasmin and Tim and
Right.
Sally.
That's true.
Racist Kelly just seems to throw an awful lot back in other people's face.
Yes.
I think that's what really sticks in my craw a bit.
Did you see her post on Instagram thanking everybody and
I did.
thanking
And she was talking about the important story that she was telling about how people are groomed.
Yes.
And I thought it was an excellent post.
I thought it was an excellent post too. I also felt it was a little ambiguous.
In what way?
Like, I'm not sure she's going to be long for this world either
Oh,
on the show.
it did sound like I've had a really good time filming
Right.
the story. Thank you very much. And then I'll be on my way.
But doesn't say that. It's very carefully worded.
Yeah, what I took from it a little bit was the grooming aspect of it is a really important storyline. And what I think she missed out was, and I wish that Corrie had told that a little bit better.
Yeah.
Because then maybe I would have that sympathy.
Yeah.
Maybe the character would be a more sympathetic character.
Right. Yes.
If the focus had remained on that.
Right. Yeah.
And you know, I think they did try, now that I say that, because the whole scenes that she had with Roy, remember when she came
Yeah.
on to Roy because she thought that's
That's
how
how
she
you show
shows
gratitude,
appreciation.
right.
You know? But then,
Then they kind of drop it. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
because she disappeared for a while after that.
Right. Yeah. I don't know.
And then there was the stuff with the mum's new boyfriend. And
Right.
I was sure that was going to bring some of all that back up again.
And then when her dad was in prison and was trying to get her to sign something about, essentially lying about his involvement and stuff, you would have thought that it would have come up then, but it doesn't really.
Missed opportunities,
Yes.
I think.
And then the whole, her dad trying to get Roy beat up in prison and stuff, and at no point kind of being confronted in his whole involvement in her life and everything. You'd think that there would have maybe been a come to Jesus moment there, and there wasn't.
All right, we'll move on then to our next storyline. Sucks to be a Webster. On Monday, in Dina's roles, Roy tells Kev of his concerns about Abby and her mental wellness or lack thereof, and tells him about the Seb hallucinations that she was claiming about. Toyah's there and overhears and offers to speak with Abby.
Yeah.
Kev thinks
I don't mean to butt in,
Kev thinks this is a dreadful idea.
and he's right.
Back home, Abby
once.
Abby apologises for her reaction to Kev's news last week, but Kev wants to talk more about Roy's warning, but Abby denies it was anything important, and Roy got the wrong idea, and she just wants Kev to drop it. Later, she runs into Toyah outside Nina's rolls and gives her a cheeky bit of abuse when Toyah offers to get her in touch with a grief counsellor friend of hers. Abby accuses Toyah of killing Imran, which she did,
She did.
and plans on stealing Alfie, which she doesn't.
No.
Abby goes to her addicts group, or so she says, and when she comes back, Kev makes a case for a grief counsellor after all, but Abby is a firm fuck no on that.
She's like, what if she talks to Toyah? What if they laugh at me behind my back? Because that's what counselors do.
Counsellors are always laughing behind people's back,
That's right.
cackling away.
Yes.
She won't give Toyah the fucking satisfaction, so she goes to the bistro to shout at Toyah some more. Toyah really isn't having a great day.
No.
Outside the bistro, Abby sees a man she thinks is Seb walking towards her, says his name, and then sees that it isn't Seb at all, and she has a quick wee breakdown. And then nothing for the rest of the week. And that's as far as we get to that.
And once again, poor Seb isn't allowed to speak.
Do ghosts speak?
Sometimes.
Betty.
61230.
Mary loves Dick.
Mary loves Dick. Mary does love Dick.
And Dick loves Mary. That was our Derek Pecora impersonations, in case you're wondering.
May he rest.
Oh, that's right. You didn't see that coming. Or maybe you did. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe Betty warned him. And he
It
was
was
like,
Sam. Sam was his spiritual guide.
I thought it was Betty too.
No, Betty was just the name of every person he ever, in inverted commas, got in contact with.
Yeah.
Betty. 1769.
Contact.
Anyway,
Man, I loved that
I
show.
must drag us kicking and screaming back to Coronation Street.
It's the best ghost hunting show ever.
There was a Coronation Street version of it.
Of course there was.
We should watch that.
We
I'm
should.
sure it's on YouTube.
Oh my God, we should.
We should probably just stop recording this and do that right now.
We should.
And then I can go to my bed.
No, because there's something really important we need to talk about in a little bit.
Okay. So Abby then, still refusing to, it's not really accept that she's seen these things, because
Right.
she knows that she's seen these things, but
Yeah.
refuses to talk to people about it.
Right. And is still under this delusion that Toyah is trying to steal her baby. And you would think that Toyah would recognize this and say, you know what? I'm just not going to get involved in this.
I'm going to take a step back from this. Do you know what? It's none of my business anyway.
Right. Yeah.
And
There-
she keeps on saying that I killed Imran, so maybe I'm just going to stay out of her way.
Right. Yes. Before I actually get convicted of killing Imran, which I should have been.
She was found not guilty.
Right.
That's done.
Yeah. Unfortunately. Or fortunately, because I do love Georgia. But anyway. Yeah. It's like, girl, you have enough problems on your own.
Yes.
You don't need this aggravation.
Look around you in your own storyline. You don't need to be putting your nose in anybody else's storyline here.
You know, I get that the character is a particular way, that she is overly kind and wants to help people and goes to protests and chains herself to Evelyn and all this other stuff and is vegan and all this other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But there comes a point. There comes a point where you have to say, you know what? Maybe not this time.
Sniff the farts, Toyah. They be telling you something. I'm a little bit disappointed that we didn't get any more of Kev's story here
Yeah, me too.
this week, because they were doing such a good job with it last week. No doubt we'll have some of that next week. But yeah, it was just a shame that the only mention that it got was Abby apologising that she didn't really care about it last week.
Yeah. Although we do get a little bit of Debbie in another storyline.
We get
Proving-
quite a bit of Debbie.
Well, yes,
Debbie's fucking great.
she is. But there is one point within the Debbie storyline that seems to hint at troubles down the road,
Yes. Yes, it does.
which I find highly offensive because it's exactly something I would do.
Yeah. This is art imitating life, for sure. Okay, we'll move on to our next storyline. Mister with another sister. On Monday in the bistro, Leanne gives Amy a cheque for 12 grand that she got from Leslie's compo, with a promise to make up the rest. Later, she bumps into Tracy in Nina's roles, and after a bit of to and fro about paying Amy back, Tracy realises that, wait, they have an awful lot in common, Leanne and her. Everyone hates the pair of them.
Yeah.
So they go to the bistro.
And it's like, there's no introspection as to, why does everybody hate us? Maybe we should change. No, that's not the lesson they get here.
No, this is everyone else's problem.
Right.
And they choose to revel in it.
Yes.
So they burst into the bistro with their tits hanging out, shouting for steaks that are medium rare and demand them immediately from Toyah.
Right.
And a bottle of Beaujolais or whatever.
Right.
And they just do their best to wind up Toyah as much as possible. And afterwards, as half owner, Leanne refuses to pay and tells Toyah if she wants to come back here and do exactly the same tomorrow, she's gonna.
Yeah.
This is a version of Leanne that we've seen before.
Yes. Yes. But just recently, she seemed to apologize for being this Leanne and recognizing that she goes too far and that maybe for Sam's sake, she should calm the fuck down. She just realized that like a week ago, and now we're back to this.
Well, she talked to Tracy. This is what happens when you talk to Tracy.
This is what happens when you talk to Tracy.
On Wednesday, Leanne stomps into the bistro again, grabs a bottle of vino, and sets herself up at a table that's got a reserved sticker on it. Oh, call the police.
Nick makes a big deal about this, but there are lots of other empty tables
There's nobody there.
that he could just stick the reserved sign on, and it would be fine.
Do you know what this reminded me of, though?
Your cousin?
Yes.
Yeah. Exactly.
Did it remind you of my cousin as well?
Yes. I reserved this table.
This specific
I demand
table.
this table.
He was trying to prove a
God.
point, but in proving a point, we didn't start eating until like 10:30 at night.
Yep.
No, I'll wait for that table like you promised me. But sir, all these other tables are available.
Nope.
I asked for
wanted
that
one.
table.
I'm
You
gonna
promised
get
me
one.
that table. I'm waiting for that table.
And then he disparaged Hillary Clinton,
One thing leads to another.
I guess.
So, Nick and Toyah are fuming but do nothing to stop her apart from giving her some very hard stares. Later, Ronnie and Debbie come in and they're arguing over a previous arrangement to go to the theatre, and it seems that one of them has forgotten that this was an arrangement and that this was an arrangement on this particular night.
Right, yes. And Ronnie's like, this isn't the date that you told me. You told me a different date.
Because he's already made alternative plans.
With the boys.
His brother.
And the boys.
Just his brother. Debbie storms off in a huff, and Leanne, who's kind of gassed now, slinks over in an attempt to get his manly Ronnie arms all over her. But as she tries like a bear, she's caught by Sam. And she's caught by Sam when he wanders in, and Sam's far from impressed by what he sees. Leanne is too pissed to notice. Ronnie's had enough, though, and tells her to go home.
Yeah. Because she's like, can I join you? And, they're talking and stuff. And it's like, Ronnie, why did you say yes in the first place? You had to have known that this is where this was headed. Have you not noticed your own arms, sir?
Hey, Ronnie worries about Ronnie.
Because he seems slightly surprised when she actually does proposition him.
Yeah, she touches his leg.
Yeah, and
When
says,
the arms are right there.
hey, baby, you want to come back to my place? I don't have a kettle.
But I've got cream all over my fingers.
Ew, no. See, you take it too far.
But rather than go home, she has a crack at Ryan until Debbie comes in and promises to send Leanne's teeth down her throat if she tries it on with Ronnie's arms again. Sam's had enough and leaves with Nick and Toyah, and he leaves in silence, and that's when you know that Sam's really upset.
Yes.
In the Rovers later, Leanne is now working on Tinker, and she talks him into having a drink with her as she has her sentencing tomorrow, and this may be her final day of freedom. Leanne is desperate for her hole here.
She's so desperate.
She's sitting with Tinker, and Tinker, God bless him,
God, he looks terrified. He is so scared.
and his expression when she said, you know what, it's just like you and Faye. Faye made a complete arse out of you. And he's what? Wait a minute.
Wait a second. She didn't leave me for, I guess it would be the dog, right?
Probably.
The dog is his only sibling. What's the dog's name again?
Peanut.
Peanut, yes. That would have been hilarious, though. Faye picking up Peanut, plopping him in the car, and driving away with Peanut. Bye. Peanut and I are leaving you forever.
Stop the car. Bye, Craig. Okay, let's go.
That was hilarious.
On Friday, oops-a-daisy, Leanne's fucked Ryan last night.
That... Was there a moment where you're like, oh, well, I guess they had a sleepover?
No, there was a minute where I was, that could have been Craig.
Oh, God. I was like, wait a second. This didn't really happen, did it? Are they just... Did he just take her home Where are they?
They're in the rape hotel, I think, in Leanne's room in the rape hotel.
Is that where she's staying?
I think, isn't she?
No, I think she got a dingy flat or something, and that's why she's got a kitchenette or something.
I'm
so confused.
honestly not sure where she is.
I am so confused by that whole scene because I'm like, she's waking up and Ryan's just sitting there in bed like a psychopath.
He's been awake for hours. He's been sitting up staring at her. And oh my God, he's chatty in the morning. Oh, is there anything worse than chatty in the morning? Do you want some breakfast? Do you want some breakfast? Well, go and get some rolls. Do you want some bacon? Oh, Ryan, please, shut up.
It kind of feels like he does not know what to say. He does not know what to say.
Pretend to be asleep. That's what you do.
He's sitting up. There's no way he's going to pretend he's asleep. I was just, what is going on? But then I was also, yes, finally, it's a soap opera again. Mm-hmm. This is what we want. People waking up unexpectedly with other people that we don't expect them to wake up with.
Right.
This was like the good thing about Tracy and Paula.
Yes, it was.
We haven't had one of these moments since Tracy and Paula.
I was expecting something like this from Leanne when Steve let her sleep over.
Right.
At number one.
Steve wouldn't have been confusing.
Well, it would have been a little bit because they're doing this again. Because the last time this happened, Oliver happened.
Yeah, Oliver's not happening this time around.
That child is dead.
No,
but maybe
it's true.
Oliver Mark II would happen.
I think that ship has sailed.
I quite liked the surprise of it.
Right, me too.
It amused me.
Me too. I was amused.
And then she has the most outrageous, oh my goodness, I'm supposed to be in court moment.
Right. Yes, that was hilarious too.
So she's late. She runs outside because she gets stressed. She runs outside, tries to get a cab, and is furious when no one can drop everything to pick her up. And then Debbie drives down the street and deliberately goes through a puddle and splashes her. Oh no!
Oh,
Have I
I'm
splashed
so sorry, hen.
Have I splashed you in your skanky clothes?
Oh,
You're wet and
dear.
you're due in court today. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh no, hen. All of a sudden, we're both Mrs. Doubtfire.
I'm my Auntie Mary. I don't know who you are. Toyah and Nick wander along and Toyah offers her a ride into town, but Leanne would rather crawl through dog shit than accept that. But Toyah won't take no for an answer. So Leanne gets there in time and Toyah hangs around to find that Leanne has been given a community order. But if she thinks this is a pathway to a rehabilitated relationship, that idea gets effed in the A when Leanne accuses Toyah of stealing Nick, not even caring, and so she gets the fucking bus home. And in the rows later, Leanne meets up with her new BFF Tracy, who tells her that none of this is her fault and she should be out for revenge. Leanne changes the subject by telling Tracy that she got her hole off Orion last night. Oh, I've been there, says Tracy. And they decide to celebrate this by getting smashed later. It seems Tommy O and her are still a thing, and he's getting a place in leafy Cheshire. So
he's no longer a coach in Spain.
It doesn't seem that way.
Yeah, I think we missed that.
I don't know if it's been mentioned at all.
No.
Because it sounded like her and Tommy O were Splitsville.
But then he kept texting her, so they got back together. Well, it would seem like she was kind of on the outs and kind of getting cold feet with the whole Tommy O thing. But then they reconciled, and we're supposed to go back to Spain. But now he's not going back to Spain. Now they're going to Cheshire. What is in Cheshire?
Leafs.
Is that it?
Well, and footballer houses.
And cats, I imagine.
Oh, is that an Alice in Wonderland joke?
Yes.
Oh my God, it's come to this. So Leanne goes back to the flat to steal booze and cream cakes and then discovers Nick and Toyah's plans. There's a conveniently left printout from Hayes' travel agent.
Yes, because they still use a travel agent.
So she puts their passports in the toaster, takes her kettle, and fucks off.
Yes.
What
Licks
I
all the
found-
spatulas.
What I found most unbelievable about all that was when she picked up their passports, she opened both of those passports immediately to the photo page.
Right, yeah. And the photos were portrait instead of landscape.
They're always portrait.
No, they're landscape.
No, they're not.
Because you have to turn them.
Why would you have your photograph as a landscape?
Well, it's not. The picture itself isn't, but it's to the side, so the picture is pointing to the spine of the passport.
Oh, the page is landscape.
Yes. But when she picked it up, she just opened it up and immediately the picture was right there and she didn't have to turn it.
To be fair, I was just impressed that anyone can open the passport to the photograph page and a winner. Nick shall be putting a USB in the right way up. Nick and Toyah come back to a smoky flat and find their toasted passports, and they don't have to think very hard about the culprit. What if Sam had been there, says Nick.
Seriously.
What if they hadn't come back?
What if they'd burned down, like, not just that apartment, but, like, all of the apartments there? There are other people living in that building.
I wouldn't have thought passports would burn quite as much as that. But
I don't know.
I'm not finding out.
They are paper.
So Nick finds Leanne in the pub and accuses her of starting a fire, which she more or less admits to. She's lost everything and no one cares. Someone could have been killed, says Nick. What about Sam? He doesn't know what's wrong with her. Debbie thinks this is psycho behaviour, but Ryan has her back, considering. Michael thinks she'd be better letting it go, otherwise she'll be stuck in this cycle of violence, and this is why he chose to forgive Grace, remember?
Yes, I remember.
So she goes back to the flat to apologise to Toyah and Nick and tries to explain why it's been so hard for her to accept this. But in that spirit, she returns the keys and offers to sell him her share in the bistro. Nick bites her hand off and Leanne declares that she wants nothing more to do with either one of them, and that's as far as we get with that storyline this week.
Yes. I was just about ready to forgive her when she slept with Ryan. And then she does the whole stupid passport thing, which, again, instigated by Tracy.
Oh, Tracy is such a bad influence.
Instigated by Tracy, saying, you should go and get your kettle and burn down the apartment while you're at it.
And eat their cream cakes.
Right.
Messily.
Steve knows how to pick them, doesn't he?
Oh, God, right.
He had children with both of these women.
Is Leanne so desperate for any kind of companionship, any kind of friendship, that she takes
Tracy.
anything that Tracy says as being primo advice?
Right. And yet it wasn't Tracy who offered to take her to court. It was her sister. And it was her sister who, like, wiped some smudge off her face before she went into court. You know, and then sat in the court and listened to the whole boring fucking thing and was supportive of her. This is where you say, you know what? It sucks what you did to me, but you are still my sister and I still love you. And let's get on with it.
There just seems to be this kind of swirl of moments of clarity where Leanne understands that, yes, it's shitty that Toyah and Nick have got together, but that didn't happen in a vacuum. The thing that was going on that kind of pushed them together was me. I was caught up in the whole institute stuff, and you could argue that maybe it wasn't entirely my fault. It was someone was taking advantage of me and my grief, but still I need to take responsibility for my own actions.
And the child's been dead for like 2 years.
Much longer than that.
Let's
I think that's coming up 4, isn't it?
Yeah.
3
And
or
I
4.
get that grief does not necessarily go away, but still.
There were mitigating circumstances that led up to Nick and Toyah getting together.
Right.
Nick and Leanne seemed to have agreed in the past that this was something that was happening anyway. The Institute sped it up. Toyah with her baby retcon and cancer. Remember she had cancer this last year?
Right, yeah.
That sped it up as well.
Let's talk about unrealistic expectations of a medical storyline. That was done and dusted in a week too, and she didn't even have to go back for chemo or anything.
So there's all this that's going about that isn't just Nick and Toyah. And she seems to appreciate this one moment, and then it's the furthest thing from her mind the next moment.
Right, yeah. And Tracy doesn't help matters.
No.
But we can't put all the blame on Tracy either.
And this does give us just another furious, jealous ex storyline, I suppose.
Yeah.
But
which is fun when it means that she's going to sleep with Ryan, but otherwise it's just a snore. It's like, really? She's going to stick the passports in the toaster? Sure. She's already stolen Toyah's passport once.
I know.
You would think that, she'd say, you know what? Maybe I just buy a new kettle.
Maybe just leave their passports alone this time.
Right, yeah. And also, she's already stolen the passport once. Why would they just stick it back in that stupid drawer in the kitchen again? Who leaves their passports in a drawer in the kitchen?
First time, shame on me. Second time, shame on you.
Seriously.
I'm keen to see where this goes. This is, like you said, there's some classic soap tropes in here that I'm enjoying. That it is something that's maybe less ripped from the headlines. In that environment, I quite enjoy it. I just wish that it hasn't turned Nick and Toyah into such snores, but anyway. Our next storyline is Brother, Can You Spare a Kidney? Just a few scenes this week about this Helen.
Yes.
In fact, pressing this button is probably going to take about as long as it's going to take to read through what happened.
Yeah, but you have to do it. It's Swain.
Carla's Swain announces that the dialysis machine has been set up in the bedroom. Kink. And she's taking a day off to look after her.
Yeah. And, when did Carla get out of the hospital? Did we see somebody pick her up from the hospital and take her home?
No, but I don't know that we need to see that.
I need to see that.
I think it's assumed.
And I also would have liked to have seen the dialysis machine being delivered. Because at least with Paul, we got to see these things delivered and everything.
It's like Chesney's big fridge.
Right. Yeah. I think one of the important things that they could be teaching people is what a fucking dialysis machine even looks like.
I have no idea what it looks like. I have absolutely no idea.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm sure most people don't. Let's see the dialysis machine getting delivered. And really, Swain by herself could set up a dialysis machine? There's no instructing them how to use a dialysis machine? All of this stuff that was really well done in the MND storyline were just... I totally understand where Kidney Care UK is coming from now.
Just be fun to try to see them cram themselves into the bedroom that is now 95% dialysis machine. How big are these things? I don't know.
They're not that big.
Well,
And
who
they're
knows?
on wheels. I've seen a dialysis machine before.
Well, they're portable then.
Yes.
Interesting.
I mean, they're not that portable, but
Like
they do have wheels.
They're like a dehumidifier then?
No, slightly bigger than a dehumidifier.
A washing machine?
Yes.
Oh, well, wait a minute. I think...
But also, I mean, the last time I saw a dialysis machine, I was 12. No, that's not true, because when I was in the hospital once, I saw the room with the dialysis machines. So...
Dialysis machine images.
Okay, yeah. They're like little robots.
Oh, they're like Metal Mickey. They've got feet.
Yeah, those are the wheels.
Dugga, 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 dugga. Did they say that?
It would be cool if they did.
You switch you on and go dugga, 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 dugga. Dialysis machine. Because that's the first thing you would teach it to do, is to say what it is.
I don't remember them being that cute. They are rather cute, like little robots.
It does look a bit like Marvin the Paranoid Android, doesn't it, from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy?
Not as round.
The one that I'm looking at does.
Is it round?
No, it's very oblong.
Marvin has a very round head.
That's the new one. I'm talking about the one from the TV show.
Oh, okay. Never mind then. I think people need to see them. They're kind of skating around this. They should have seen it. We should have seen it delivered and had somebody explain how to use it and stuff. I think it's because as important as MND is, statistically, more people are going to need a dialysis machine than are going to be diagnosed with MND.
Yeah, I don't think most people know what it looks like.
Yeah.
I don't think
people understand what it does.
I think only people that have been listening to this podcast know that it makes a digga 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 noise when you switch it on.
And it's a cute little robot looking thing.
And I never knew what chemotherapy was until I really saw my mum get it.
Right.
That I didn't know that chemotherapy basically is sitting in a chair hooked up to this drip.
Yeah.
I don't know what I thought it was, but I didn't think it was that.
Yeah.
So you remove the mystery from these things and you kind of remove the fear of them a
Right.
little bit.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
an opportunity missed.
Because you think chemotherapy and you basically think that it's like some big scary machine,
Yeah.
like an MRI machine.
Yes.
Those are big and scary. But chemotherapy does scary things to your body, but getting chemotherapy isn't necessarily scary.
Yeah, maybe the least scary part of the whole thing, really.
Right. It's just sitting there, in a row of other pleasant older people, or sometimes younger people, all getting drips at the same time and chatting with one another and drinking their tea and reading their books, listening to podcasts on their little earbuds and stuff, all in a row.
Yeah, I didn't think it was anything like that.
Yeah.
Well, look at us. We've got far more minutes out of this than I thought we were going to get, albeit an awful lot of that was me making a dialysis machine impersonation,
Which sounded like Robbie the Robot.
Yeah. Let me read the second sentence now.
Okay.
Carla is worried about how this affects the relationship, but Swain insists she's there for the long haul, and that's as far as we get with that this week.
Right. Yeah. Apparently, a lot of people are confused about the fact that Swain is staying there. They apparently have forgotten that she had to evacuate her apartment.
Yeah, 3 weeks ago, though. The flat got flooded 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Their flat must be above Bessie Street School, which is perpetually flooded as well.
Right. But they need to, tear everything out of there and redo it and stuff because it's all flooded.
Sure.
And also now Carla has sepsis in her kidneys. So she's not going to say, well, cheerio then, I'm leaving you to go back to my apartment while you need, assistance that you can't expect Bobby or Ryan to do.
No.
Ryan's too busy, gathering up the cougars.
He's on a cougar hunt.
He is. 2 down,
That should have a song.
so many to go.
I really hope that the Coronation Street podcast do a dialysis machine impersonation this week. I will be tuning in to hear.
I wonder what Dugga 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 sounds in an Australian accent.
While we're thinking about that, let's move on to our next storyline. Fortress number 8. On Wednesday, David and Shona are at the cop shop to talk to Kit about Aunt, who's still on the run, when an old jailbird friend of David's, Andy, comes along and insists that he puts his number in David's phone so they can keep in touch.
Yeah.
That wasn't suspicious at all, was it, Helen?
Well, in the long run, it was, but
I'm giving nobody my phone.
no, this is the guy that David ran into at Paul's funeral thing at the rave. His pal that he watched the second season of How I Met Your Mother with
The
in
first
prison.
season.
It was
we
the
don't-
second season.
We don't know that it had the second season DVD. Tinker arrives and chases Andy off, warning David that he should keep Andy at arm's length because he fucking stinks. Back home, Lily comes home for lunch and she has a note that a bloke gave her in the precinct, and whatever's on it made Shona's eyes pop.
Who says, sure, yeah, I'll take your note and take it home?
He said that he was a friend of David's. Mm-hmm. She shows it to David, and it's a message from Harvey demanding 10 grand interest, and he knows who Lily is now, so all that stuff. Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
Shocked, David's plan is that they keep the kids close while they figure out what to do. On Friday over breakfast, David carefully chats to Lily about the guy who gave her the message yesterday and just warns her to caw canny with that behaviour in future, and he gets Max to take her to school. Max smiles like he's just enjoyed a shit sandwich. Then Michael comes in with David
Or he's still in the glow of another storyline.
wrapped up in a jacket looking like he's been knocked over. So David quickly gets David off to the vet.
They got a lot of use out of Michael this week, didn't they?
Yeah, he showed up in 2 storylines that aren't his.
Yes.
While the vet runs tests and kills the Platt finances in doing so, David becomes sure that Harvey is somehow responsible for this. A view that's compounded when he gets a text from Harvey saying, "You're next."
Right, yes.
Maybe show that to the police.
But if he shows that to the police, then he'll have to admit to the police that he stole all that money.
Check and mate. Shona wonders if they can get any cash out of the bank.
Maybe it's somebody who just really hates Davids.
So, just ticking them off.
Right, yes. Who's next? David.
Duchovny?
Oh, yes, David Duchovny. How could I
Why
forget?
was that the first David that I think of?
I can't think of any other famous Davids. Wasn't there a prime minister who was David?
There was the leader of the Liberal Party, David Steele.
Okay.
Oh yes, David. Talks like that on Spitting Image.
You'd think that there would be more famous Davids.
David Ginola, the footballer.
Okay, there you go.
God, Ginola and Duchovny. Why can't I think of a David with a less exotic last name?
Duchovny is exotic?
Yeah.
Okay. David Hyde Pierce. It should not have taken me that long to think of David Hyde Pierce. You should have thought of David Hyde Pierce.
So the first three Davids that we can think of.
4. We mentioned 4. Because you mentioned the...
David Steele,
Yes.
David Duchovny,
Yes.
David Ginola,
Yes.
and David Hyde Pierce are the
Yes.
first 4 Davids that we remember.
Right, who are famous.
The first 4 Davids that we think of
Yes.
that are famous.
I was going to say Davy and Goliath, but he's claymation. He's not real.
Wow.
And then there's David from the Bible, I guess.
David,
That's it. Why aren't there more famous Davids? It's a nice name. David Tennant! How can we forget David Tennant? There's a cardboard cutout of David Tennant in our house.
It doesn't count because you Googled Davids. Famous Davids.
I just went, David Bowie! How could I forget David Bowie? There's like 4 framed pictures of David Bowie in this house.
I'm dragging us back.
Why does our daughter obsess about Davids? Or at least 2 of them.
None of them are involved in Coronation Street, though.
No. They should be, though. Can you imagine David Tennant on Coronation Street? That'd be hilarious.
Shona wonders if they can get any cash out of the bank, so goes to speak to them in person while David gets Tinker to come round to ask about Aunt and sort of starts to tell him about the shit he's involved in, but then Shona appears and he quickly changes his tune and talks about David getting run down. Tinker's confused where Aunt and Dec fit into all of this, so David sends him on his way.
It's like, I was just being dramatic.
It turns out that there's no equity in the house that they've just bought.
Yeah,
Well,
no shit, Sherlock.
so all they can do is sell up. David is fucking furious. That could take months.
David Hasselhoff.
So instead, David decides to Home Alone the fuck out of number 8. And that's as far as we get with that this week.
How could we forget David Hasselhoff? We're children of the 80s.
This podcast has quickly descended into naming Davids badly.
I don't know why it's so funny.
And because of that, you miss in the last sentence there that I use Home Alone as a verb.
I heard you
Okay.
use Home Alone as a verb. Well done, Madalyn.
Thank you.
It's just too bad that his name wasn't David Cookin.
Are we all forgetting that Auntie Sharon is leader of this gang?
Yeah, they forgot about that long ago. That has been done and dusted, forgotten since Harvey went back to prison.
Is that on Wendy's list of things the show's forgotten?
I'm pretty sure it is.
Dame is a child abuser. Stu had a deadly cough. That's not coming back. I'm scoring that one off the list. Roy gave everything to Nina, they never took it back. Toyah is a murderer. It remembers that now.
Sort of.
I'm going to score that one off the list as well.
It'll forget again.
Yeah, at the moment though, Mason ran over Eliza. That's never getting remembered now.
No. Yeah. That's never getting resolved.
Chesney's learning sign language. What happened to antisocial Lauren? We keep on forgetting about that. Sharon is the leader of Harvey's gang. There it is.
Yes, there it is.
There it is. It's number 11.
You know what we forgot?
What?
David Schwimmer. Again, we're Generation X and we forgot David Schwimmer.
I'm doing my best.
Apparently he's on the new season of Goosebumps.
I must insist we talk just a little bit more about Coronation Street.
Okay, fine.
So David's got these thugs after him. He's setting up booby traps and vats of hot oil and feathers.
He's broken open the hole in his backyard.
Sinkhole.
Yes, the sinkhole is back open, ready to.
But he's put some twigs over it.
Right. Yes.
Just in case Harvey or his goons show up. Well, Harvey's not going to show up.
No, because he's in prison.
How is David getting out of this? Because he's now, I think, 20 grand in the hole.
Right.
He's never getting that money.
No.
He's going to have to go to the police, surely.
Yeah. But then that will put him in prison with Harvey. And then he's dead.
Not sure exactly how he gets out of this. But then, now that Lily's involved in this is all becoming very personal. Now that
Right.
David's been...
Run over. Yeah.
I thought for sure that dog's dead.
Yeah.
They're going to get rid of that dog because the dog's a complication.
Yeah.
Let's face it. I'd have to do a David, the dog, in memoriam
Yeah.
for next year.
Yeah.
But again, they mentioned that they don't have the money for this, and sure enough. But I saw something posted online, again, I can't remember who mentioned it, so apologies, but when David took custody of David the dog, he also got 20 grand that was supposedly for
David the dog.
David the dog and his health care. That seems to be something that they've forgotten.
Yes.
All right.
On to Wendy's list it goes.
We will move on to our penultimate storyline, Vallies of the Ken doll. On Wednesday, Adam and Ali are dropping at number 1 looking for Steve's phone for some reason. The house is empty, and so they wonder why Cassie's there and why Cassie's upstairs. She claims they've been cleaning the bedrooms, but when they go, it looks like she's nicked Ken's credit card. Later, Ken gets home and Cassie tells him all about Daniel's antics in another storyline. "Oh, Daniel," says Ken, while Cassie pockets the credit card again. She takes it out just so we can be sure that we've seen it, and she puts it in her arse pocket. On Friday, Daniel is at number 1 from another storyline and warns Ken about what Bertie saw Cassie do at Bertie's party. Ken doesn't know what he's supposed to make of this, so it looks like he seems to ignore the warning, but when Cassie arrives, Ken approaches it with her, and he looks far more serious than he did when he was talking to Daniel earlier. Cassie says that she's let Ken down by sneaking a brandy into her coffee because she finds it hard to cope sometimes, and she feels horrible about betraying his trust and understands if he wants her to walk away. He blames her addictive personality and offers to help, so she sources a private therapist and then has a pretend change of heart. She can't take his money, but Ken insists. That's as far as we get with that.
Yeah. And it's nice that the show remembers that Ken has an alcoholic son named
Yes.
Peter.
Yes, I know.
You looked at me very confused there for a second.
Because I thought that was your observation.
Yeah, no, it's nice that the show remembers Peter so that Ken can say that he can relate to Cassie because of his son and, the struggles that he has had and everything, which I kind of think took Cassie aback a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that it kind of felt like she didn't expect it to go as well as it did. Or maybe she did. I don't know. She's slippery.
Very slippery.
Yeah.
She's very good at thinking on her feet.
Yeah.
And she has an answer for everything.
Yep.
So when she's approached by a number of people
Yeah.
about what exactly she's doing, it's almost like she's anticipating being caught, and she has her story all ready.
Yeah. That's an addict for you.
Yeah, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, so that's a kind of a well-observed character trait that they've stumbled
Absolutely.
into here.
Absolutely.
Do you think Ken's on to her, though?
It kind of feels like he might be now.
He's suspicious.
A little bit that yeah. I was happy when he confronted her about it.
It was very telling when he's kind of dismissive to Daniel, but not at all. He's looking very serious when she comes in.
Yes.
He's waiting to interrogate her about it.
Correct.
He's a wily old stoat,
Yes,
is
he
our
is.
Ken.
Yes, he is.
All right, we'll move on to our final storyline tonight.
Yes, thank God.
Every Polygon is a love Polygon when you love Polygons.
Yes.
On Monday, Jenny has started a social media campaign to make some money, something that supposed influencer Daisy maybe should have been all over already, but isn't.
Right. And it's kind of something that's required by the brewery that they have to do.
When Daniel comes in and announces that Daisy being pregnant changes everything and he wants a DNA test done.
Right. But before he does that, he's very judicial.
Daniel. He's very Daniel.
Yeah, about her supposedly drinking Prosecco until he finds out that it's non-alcoholic Prosecco. And he's like, all right then. And Daisy says, fuck you.
Fuck is it your business anyway?
That could be my baby.
Meanwhile, Bethany and her big thumb are at the flat and calling that London to see if the job is still available. Daisy arranges a quick DNA test and then Daniel has an existential crisis about what he's going to tell Bethany. Daisy, understandably, has no fucking time for this. We either leave now or we don't leave. At the clinic, Daniel is determined to dig up the past and fantasise about a reality that doesn't exist where he, Daisy, Bertie and this baby are one big happy family. Daisy tells him it's probably the tall policeman's, so be prepared for that. Afterwards, Daisy tells Jenny, and they're now waiting on the results. She at least recognises that Daniel is making it all about him as usual. Jenny thinks that he's still in love with her, but he's engaged, and they're done, Daisy insists. In separate news, Jenny has black-bagged some of Daisy's things to sell to make Carla's money back, and has already sold Daisy's pistachio handbag to Bethany.
Vintage.
Because of course that's happened.
Yes, of course that's happened.
Why does Bethany, seemingly her hobby is to buy Daisy's cast-offs here? Back at the flat, Bethany tells Daniel that she got the magazine in that London to give her a job again, and she really wants to go to give it a trial, and this time, Daniel agrees.
Yes, because he feels guilty.
On Wednesday, in Nina's Rolls, Bethany has been looking at that London and the school's there and announces to Kit that she and Daniel are moving. Kit doesn't say London. There's another character who refuses to say London.
I kept waiting for somebody to say London this week and nobody did.
Daisy comes in and Bethany immediately starts winding her up, saying that they'll be having their leaving party in the Rovers later. Later, Jenny is preparing for an afternoon pub quiz. They're always popular, aren't they? Pub quiz in the afternoon.
Especially in the middle of the day.
When no one's there.
Right. This'll get the punters out.
When Daniel comes in to speak to Daisy, Daisy is having a shite though, so he has to wait. But when she's done, I hope she's washed her hands. He apologises for moving to London, but Daisy calls him a coward and says that she should have seen it coming. He wants a DNA test 1 minute, and then he's fucking off to that London the next. She tells him that he'll do everything he can to keep Bethany in the dark because that's the kind of shitbag he is.
Yep.
Oh, well, that's unfair, says Daniel. In the Rovers later, Daniel and Bethany are snuggling up in a booth while she loudly boasts about this job that she's got. She was headhunted, by the way.
Yes.
She goes to the bar and reveals that she found Daisy's pregnancy test in the honking handbag that she bought. Why does the show want us to believe that Bethany would buy clothes and accessories from her nemesis?
What other things of Daisy's has she bought?
There was something else that was bought. Oh no, was it something that
No, it was something of Jenny was wearing
right.
Jenny was wearing something of Bethany's, which is 100% unbelievable.
Well, I'm glad that I'm indignant for something then.
Right, yes. But also the fact that Bethany would buy that handbag.
Which was horrible.
It wasn't vintage, but it was trendy.
She assumes the dad is Kit's, or maybe is it Ryan's, but she's super happy for Daisy either way.
Yeah, but she's a cow about
She's a cow,
it.
yeah. Brian and Mary, meanwhile, are recruiting Kirk for their quiz team, and then Kit comes in, and Mary is hilarious with Kit.
Right.
Mary fancies a little bit of Kit action, I think.
Well, Mary fancies any action she can get.
No.
Except for Brian.
No, it is Kit, or it's Adam, or it's Ben Shepherd. That's it.
That's about it. But it was hilarious, the whole thing with the team names. And Brian's, be afraid? Mm-hmm. Because his name is Brian, and you should be afraid of Brian.
You should be afraid of Brian, because he might puke up all over you if you're sitting in the front row of a school nativity play.
And Mary's like, I'm not going to be a member of a team called that, and becomes her own team because she says something about Hail Mary. The team should be Hail Mary. And Brian says, oh, that's stupid. And it's like, fuck you, Brian. Fuck you. You should be grateful this woman gives you any sort of time of day. Stop being a dick.
The first prize for winning this afternoon quiz that no one's attending is a night at the Rape Hotel. What?
It's like a spa treatment or something.
During the quiz, Daisy is pestered by Kit, Daniel and Bethany announces their wedding date and everyone's invited. So Daisy loses her shit
August 29th.
and poses a question. Who is the father of her baby? Is it Kit or is it Daniel? Kirk is thankful it was multiple choice. And that, I think, is the first time that I've actually laughed at something that Kirk said for quite some time.
Oh, God. Well, he was also indignant about the question about the Spanish steps. Where are the Spanish steps?
I don't laugh at that. Daniel says it was a one-time thing when they were broken up.
We were on a break. See, David should remember.
David remembers that they were split up.
David?
Bethany,
Also, we forgot David Lynch.
Stop
even
it.
though he died this week.
You need to stop it now. Bethany remembers that they were split up for one day. Daniel, you rotter.
We were on a break.
He didn't tell Bethany as he didn't know it was his, because that's why you wouldn't tell somebody that you shagged somebody else.
Right, yes.
He says that he loves Bethany.
Didn't know I was going to get caught.
Bethany thought that he was a good guy. What about this man made you think that he was a good guy?
He was one of the good ones. Really? You thought this was one of the good ones?
Meanwhile, a disgusted Kit storms out, followed by Bethany and Sarah. We're over this time, says Bethany, for I think the fourth time.
Yeah, something like that.
Sarah comforts Bethany on Maxine's bench, and meanwhile, Jenny is furious that Daisy didn't think about the quiz before her outburst.
That was funny.
In the back room, though, Daisy is in abdominal pain, and so Jenny whisks her off to the hospital. Just before we get to the hospital stuff, the scene where Daisy dropped that bombshell
Yeah.
and the fallout that came out of it was all magnificent.
It was. Again, the show has remembered that it's a soap opera.
I think Daisy at one point says, this is a bit where Daniel says it was a mistake. And Daniel says, it was a mistake. That whole
thing was
scene
so good.
and the scene before it were just perfect.
The fact
just
that
brilliant fun.
The fact that so many truth bombs are landed on Daniel's face this week is just chef's kiss.
It really was.
Chef's kiss.
So, at the hospital, despite being told not to go online, Daisy has been online and has convinced herself that she's having an ectopic pregnancy. Meanwhile, Daniel texts Adam and fills him in about the events of the day.
But not like that.
He decides that he wants to go to the hospital, but Adam advises him to go speak to Bethany instead. At home, Sarah is enjoying dumping on Daniel, but not like that.
No.
Bethany thinks that if he'd told her about this, she might have understood. What?
What?
Seeing where this is going, Sarah points out that this isn't the first offence, and Daniel was with Daisy while Bethany was in Turkey. Daniel isn't her only option, and he's out of second chances. At the hospital, just before she gets taken away for an ultrasound, Kit shows up to apologise for his behaviour before. He's remembered his own backstory, and he wants to be there for his kid, if it is his.
Right.
Jenny's in the background reading a door during all this, and it's wonderful.
It's hilarious.
And it's wonderful that she's reading the door, but did you notice what her dress has got? Pockets. She's got her hands in her pockets.
Yeah.
It's just a perfect little...
Jenny was great this week.
Just a little back... Because normally Jenny would go out the room.
Right.
And you wouldn't see Jenny.
Right.
But you see her just lingering about in the background reading that sign with her hands in her pockets. It was brilliant.
Yeah, and I liked it beforehand when she was reading the signs actually in the room and saying who smiles while they get their blood pressure taken. Jenny was great.
Daisy invites Kit to the ultrasound where we learn the baby is fine and Kit's obviously moved by it. Back in the pub, Jenny, Daisy and Kit are heading through the back and Daniel is about to join them when Kit tells him to get his arrogant muppet arse to fuck. He's not invited. But he slinks through anyway to see how the baby is. Daisy isn't in the mood to chat about it when Bethany comes in after speaking with Kit. Apparently, she was about to give Daniel another chance. But this time, the fifth time, maybe, this really is it, probably.
Right, yeah. She's like, I was going to forgive you, but now I can't because you're sitting on a couch with another woman who you may have impregnated. It's like, really? Really? This is what... You don't think that they have something to talk about? She was just in the hospital. You don't think that maybe he wants to know how she's doing because she may be carrying his child? It's not like they were snogging there on the couch or anything, or naked.
But I still think, though, that at this point, Daniel still thinks that London's a goer. I think he still thinks that he's going to London.
Oh, my God.
Until Bethany takes her engagement ring off and throws it on the
at
floor.
him.
And then he's maybe, am I going to London? Is this still on? If only she'd be more clear.
Oh, my God.
The fact that she was about to take him back yet again. Girl. Seriously.
Seriously.
On Friday, Bethany is in a reflective mood. She was planning her future yesterday, and now it's all fucked. Sarah thinks that she's well shot. Bethany needs a clean break, so is still going to that London. Meanwhile, Ken is being disapproving to Daniel. He had it all, and he's thrown it all away. Oh, Daniel.
Oh, Daniel.
Daisy has been to her booking appointment, whatever that is, without Kit, who was busy. Daisy was embarrassed to admit that she didn't know who the dad was, but Jenny thinks that she should have thought of that before blotting it out to the entire pub.
Right, yes.
After a brief altercation in the street where Sarah hypocritically chastises Daisy and her yo-yo knickers.
Right, yes. Which Bethany points out to her, and then Daisy points out to her, because this is recent history here.
Yeah, and it just water off a duck's back for Sarah. She's like...
Totally ignores it. It's hilarious.
So that's Bethany all moved out of Daniel's. Later, Bethany finds Daisy in the community garden. Daisy admits that she still loves Daniel, and every time he gets a chance, she chooses Bethany. So that's that. Bethany's finally done with him too, and doesn't think either Kit or Daniel are going to step up for Daisy and the baby. She tells Daisy that her problem is that she thinks she needs a man. So when the DNA results come through, Daisy claims to Jenny that she deleted the results without reading them. The baby doesn't need Kit or Daniel. It needs her. And that's how we end this week's episodes.
I think that was like a very unfair estimation of Daisy. I don't think Daisy thinks she needs a man. I don't think she thinks that at all. I don't think she ever has.
So why did it seem like Bethany's words really chimed with her then?
I don't know. I don't get it, because that's never been Daisy's personality. And she has already said either one of these choices are bad. And also, ethically, it is kind of important to let the father of your child know that he's the father of your child, unless like he's a really terrible person, or, you know, it's one of those situations, which it's not here. It's kind of like she does kind of have to know which one it is. Because like she points out, you know, when she was filling out the paperwork and everything, that because she doesn't know who the father is, she doesn't know like the health history and everything. That's kind of important to know.
Right.
So it feels like it hit Daisy, but it shouldn't have. It's like the character forgot who she is.
Yeah, the one thing about Daisy is that fairly self-sufficient.
Yeah.
I was really disappointed though when she said that she'll always love Daniel.
Yeah.
Because I don't know...
Why?
I don't know what he's ever really done of any consequence to prove that to her. Because all he does is let people down.
That's true. And that's pointed out to him this week.
And again, it's water off a duck's back.
Yeah. Just like it's pointed out to him how condescending he can be.
And arrogant.
Yeah.
And a muppet.
Yeah.
And it's never anything that's causing him to have a moment of self-reflection.
Nope.
Yeah, this week was made for me because having people shout at Daniel is totally my favourite thing.
And giving him the business. Left, right, and center. Daisy does it. Bethany does it. Sarah does it. Kit does it. Ken does it. Everybody does it. So nice.
Now, Bethany doing it, he's fairly sure that she's going to go back on that within 24 hours. And Daisy's never really going to, like she said, she's always going to love him, so she's never going to cut off all ties with him entirely. Although it does feel like she's given up on any hope of a romantic reconciliation.
Yeah.
For now, I suppose. But Kit giving it to him was deadly serious.
Yeah.
And so was Ken.
Yeah.
That he's so disappointed. Because
Yeah.
you had it all.
Yeah.
Ken's maybe not one that should be throwing stones in glass houses,
Well,
right
no.
enough. But just because...
Just like Sarah.
Right, but still, it bears saying. And Daniel's like, well, you don't need to tell me that because I can see it written all over your face.
Right.
Well, yeah, Daniel, but maybe do something to improve yourself then.
Right. Maybe do something about it. Maybe
Because
take
there's
all these
something-
things to heart.
There's something wrong here if you're continually doing stuff that jeopardizes the relationship with someone that you claim to love.
Right.
And by that, Bethany, because does he love Bethany? Because these aren't the actions of somebody who loves somebody.
No. I don't know. I don't know if he's capable of love, honestly. He doesn't love his son.
Son's continually getting passed from pillar to post.
Yeah. And, Bethany, it's basically the same thing as Daisy. He had it all with Daisy as well and fucked it up. Although she kind of fucked it up too by sleeping with Ryan. But there's a reason why she slept with Ryan, and that reason is called Daniel.
And trauma, which
Yes.
is the same thing.
Right, yes. And Daniel being incapable of recognizing her trauma and doing something about it in a constructive way. He was terrible to her during that.
Mm-hmm.
Daniel.
Whose baby do you think it is?
I don't fucking care.
You really don't.
I really don't. I think it's Daniel's, though, because that's more traumatic.
Now, we know that Daisy is
Not long for this
not
world.
long for the show. I'm not sure if we have an idea of a date yet.
Right.
But she said that their wedding, Bethany and Daniel's wedding in August, was round about the time that she was due to have her baby. Mm-hmm. So does that mean, or does that introduce the possibility that she leaves without us knowing who the daddy is?
I don't think they can do that to us, can they? I don't think they can do that to us, can they?
Absolutely they can do that. I feel like this is just a different twist on the Alina Pop.
I was just thinking of Alina Pop. But with that, we knew who the daddy was. All the way through.
But did we know? Well, we knew that she was pregnant, but did we know she was pregnant? Because she took an orange juice at the airport, that's pretty much what we were basing it on.
Yeah.
So it feels like they're capable of that sort of thing, and that if they're intending to keep the door open for Daisy to come back, which I think they would be foolish not to, maybe this is something that gets resolved much further down the line, if ever.
Yeah.
Because the knowledge of who the dad is going to impact the dad. If Daniel knows that it's his and then Daisy leaves, is Daniel really going to let her and his new son or daughter out of his life? He's an asshole, but maybe he's not that much of an asshole.
Yeah.
It's simpler from a story point of view. She just
Right.
leaves and we don't know.
Yeah. I don't feel like either one of those men would have let her just leave without knowing.
I think Kit would have before, but now it's less likely.
Yeah.
And then he's remembered.
And even before, it's like, this is not realistic at all, considering how much he gets after his mother for giving him up.
Right.
This is going to resolve itself. And it has. And it's like, why would this resolve itself if she's leaving?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think maybe Kit will leave with her?
I think it'd be foolish to let Kit go as well.
Yeah, I know.
He's involved in everything.
Yeah.
I don't know that they can.
Right, but it's foolish to lose Daisy as well. I mean, it was Charlotte's choice to leave the show. But you'd think that they would bend over backwards to get her to stay. It's kind of sad how the show is kind of losing so many young people.
Oh, well, that was the week that was Coronation Street.
Yes.
Helen, tell me, what was your moment of the week?
Daisy's mic drop.
It's got to be the mic drop, hasn't it?
It's the mic drop. Yep.
It was so good.
It was so good.
And I think there were lots of good things about that storyline this week, but it all built up to that perfect moment where Daisy's just taken as much shit as she can from people
Right.
And now common sense goes out the window.
Right. Here it is.
I'm having my fucking say here, and
Yeah.
you better be sitting down.
Right.
Great stuff.
Yes. Honorable mention, of course, to Leanne waking up with Ryan.
And then realising that she's got to be at the court.
Yes.
Yeah. Daisy's mic drop is definitely our
Moment of the week.
Moment of the week.
our boring moment of the week.
Cassie mistaking Bellini for Fellini.
Yeah, because it just gave Ken an excuse to explain it to her.
Right. Yes.
Oh, yeah, that is our...
She can't be that dumb.
That is our...
Boring moment of
I don't think she's that dumb either. I think she's completely playing up that.
But also, well, no, because then she's like, subtitles. It's like they're really leaning into the whole, this lower class person is unintelligent and doesn't know anything about art.
And doesn't like reading her movies.
Right.
There are some people who don't like reading movies.
Well, those people are wrong.
Indeed they are. I'm going to press this button now. You ready?
Yep.
Yay!
Yeah, it's a yay, meh, zzz part of the show where I ask our followers on Twitter to rate this week's batch of episodes in those categories. And the results for this week are zzz got 19.1%, meh 23.6%, and yay was 57.3%. So a fairly resounding nod of approval from our Twitter followers. Holly says, Leanne and Ryan, really? Really? Good otherwise. Hopefully that's the end of the Lauren stuff. Enjoying the friendship between Leanne and Tracy. Enjoyed everyone hating Daniel. Yeah, I think we can all appreciate that.
Yes, we can.
And then Mike says, Lauren's scenes were good. Leanne's scenes let it down. Good the rest of the week. Daisy's scenes good. Not a bad week.
Yeah.
Very precise summary.
Yes.
Mike covers in 4 sentences what we have taken an hour and a half to discuss.
Fair enough. Well, he didn't have to name famous Davids.
Saves quite a bit of time, apparently,
Yes.
doing that. But of course, we don't let the Twitterati influence our scores,
That's
Helen.
correct.
So what score would you give this week's shows out of 10?
You know what? 8.5.
8.5?
Yeah. The show remembered it was a soap opera this week, and I'm going to reward it.
Now, I said at the top, it was a good week this week, and you were like, eh. And now you give it an 8.5 out of 10, one of your highest ever scores. I'm going to give it an 8.
Yeah. More.
Because Monday was stupid.
Right.
The trial was
Yeah,
stupid.
The trial was stupid. But people waking up with unexpected other people, that's always going to get high scores from me. And also, baby mama drama, that's going to get high scores as well.
And on that bombshell, let's wrap this one up then. This episode was brought to you with thanks to our friends of the podcast, Daisy, French Helen, Pickles, DT, Wendy, Noel, Canadian Helen, Christy, Shandy, English Victoria, Aurora Yvonne, Heather Westerfield, Russell Whiting, Jackie B, Brittany Porter, Lauriana, Tina, Stephen, Leah, Tara J, and Fiona B. Thank you ever so much, folks. We very much appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
If you've ever successfully opened a passport on the photograph page, write in to tell us about it. We're the Talk of the Street at gmail.com, and we're at Corrie Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Threads and Blue Sky. I'm thinking about dropping Threads. Or reach us the old-fashioned way, the Talk of the Street, P.O. Box 12, Eaton Rapids, Michigan 48827. You can shout me and Helen a coffee or become a friend of the podcast by heading to ko-fi.com, that's ko-fi.com/the Talk of the Street, or patreon.com/the Talk of the Street. Check out voggle.co.uk for links to our merch store, YouTube channel and blog. And if you're so inclined, please leave a rating and a review on the iTunes or your podcast provider of choice. And be sure to check out our pop culture sister podcast, The List of Lists.
Suck it, Moneyball and Social Network.
Thanks for making it to the end of another episode. And we'll be back next week with more
Talk of the Street.
The Talk of the Street.
Bye.
Cheerio.